So how are we all? I hope you are having a fantastic Friday and looking forward to the weekend. Hopefully you've got some plans for the weekend and it's not just going to be a waste. I'm not sure if I've got any plans. I know someone who hasn't got any plans because he's lazy as a mofo. Still surrounded by his toys, making sure that no one can get them. The cat's wife doesn't seem to be anywhere nearby. What he keeps stealing. I'll tell you what, this dog is the only thing that fidgets in its sleep more than my other half. It's the stillest he's been, that sort of 5 seconds. Flips about like a fish out of water. Anyway, into the meat and potatoes, and we're going to touch on something. Now, this is going back to someone that we've spoken about previously. And what I want to say before I go any further is this. When we talk, when we speculate, when we speak about people, we're not saying that these people have done anything whatsoever. They are completely innocent until proven guilty. But what we're trying to do is be fair. There's a lot of people, the Jacks for argument's sake, who are getting a lot of heat. We're also seeing some people getting heat who really don't have anything to do with it, and having their addresses and everything doxed. This isn't about this at all. This is about looking at the information that's out there in the public domain already, and speaking about it and seeing whether we think that it's anything, whether it's nothing. And, you know, this is, again, something that we touched on previously, briefly, not quite this in depth. And this is Jack K. So what we're going to be looking at is this. This is a post. This is from a thread that was originally on another platform, and it was removed. They blocked it. And this talks about Jack K and the fact that this was a Reddit blocked thread. Now, a lot of people are saying, why isn't this person being spoken about more when you start delving into his social media? When we're picking apart other people's social media and using that as a way to say that they did something. Now, this could just prove in this video that, look, this is just the nature of the beast. This is what these kids are like. This is just part and parcel of being in this area, being part of the fraternities and the sororities that they are. And the things that we see as out of the ordinary are simply part and parcel of their everyday life. Or is there something more sinister hidden underneath? Let's take a look. So if you remember Jack K, now Jack K was someone who cropped up in the Venmo payments. Jack K's sister had made a payment, and the reference of that payment just simply gave the time stamp of 3:30 a.m. Now, we don't know whether that had any relevance to anything whatsoever, but it just seemed a little bit strange that Jack K, his sister, Venmo payment reference 3:30 a.m. And we're saying that the murders took place around this time. That's the time frame that they're kind of saying. Now, Jack K, they're pretty much saying that he had dealings with Ethan on the night of the murders. Potentially that he drove him around, and that's what the Venmo payment was for. It was for payment for driving them around midnight. Now, can I confirm that? I can't obviously confirm it because I can't speak to Ethan and I can't speak to Jack. So in terms of how truthful is that, how factual is that, we don't know. It's just information that's floating around. But let's go through this thread and see what you think to it. Across Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, and 4chan, there is ample mention of Jack Katovich. He is Ethan's frat brother, I think a current pledge, and seems to have potentially driven Ethan and Xana around midnight the night in question. Now, is this who the police, law enforcement had referenced when they said about people being questioned who had driven people around? I know that they said that there was someone who'd driven the girls around. Whether law enforcement had also spoken to this person, who knows? Who knows? We can only, again, speculate, but that's where this name kind of crops up from. Venmo payments, and it seems that's what the Venmo payment was for. So whether Ethan was paying him some fuel money around that time, and then Jack would go on to drive them around, who knows? But if that's the case, then you know that we've got some missing times as well. You know, this between sort of midnight and 3, and, you know, there seems to be a void of time. He is also, from my understanding, the first person who contributes to Ethan's memorial GoFundMe. He contributed $6 for each one of the victims. Twitter here, look. I find it interesting that Jack K, who Ethan Chapin's last Venmo transaction was with, donated $6 to Ethan's GoFundMe page, £6 to Xana's page, and 6 and 6 to Kaylee's and Maddie's shared page, 6666. Not sure what this person's trying to get at. $6 is a little bit of an odd one, an odd number. Now, I don't know how Venmo works. I don't use Venmo. You know, I'm not bothered about donations over here. This is not a platform that I use. So I don't know whether if you donate $10, they take $4. 40% seems a little bit of a deduction to me, so I can't work out the 6. Someone else might be able to clarify that in comments, whether there is some significance to that. But so this goes on to look at this. Look, these details alone are obviously not damning. They only become that way when you connect them to the IG account DEDLY. As you'll see, there are many red flags to notice in this account's posts. Notice the knife and the dates of the other 2 posts. So what you're basically seeing here, I don't know whether I can click on this. My mouse is acting up. So what we got here is someone with a knife with a hilt here, you know, like the K-bar knife. Now, whether that's a mock-up dress one, I don't know. It's hard to tell in that picture. But it goes on to say, Sigma rule number 1, eliminate the biggest threat in the room. Someone's obviously commented, so is this the knife you used? Don't know whether that was JLR. And then what we're saying, we've got this post over here, which is dated November 15th with best weekend ever. Now, what they're basically saying, which we're going to go through, is this, look. So that wouldn't obviously hold any importance whatsoever if this account is not connected to this person. And it may not be connected to him, but we're going to be looking at some things that seemingly connect Jack to this account. Now, this is something that's been brought to people's attention, Goobers. Now, this is apparently robots that have to hide from being murdered permanently, constantly. And this seems to depict 3 females here. So 1, 2, and 3, and then a 4th, which is a male. And again, these are like murder bots of some description. And there are references, nudges to Goobers in the Roblox games world, where people come together and it's like a horror thing. And that's where the 6 comes into play, because apparently there's 6 different types of murder bot. But again, that's going down a rabbit hole. We're just touching the surface of this just to see what you think. So yeah, we've got 3 females, 1 male, which is a drawing that's been done by the person who owns this account. Okay? So let's go back. So still, we're trying to say that the person who owns this account, yeah, there's some things here what don't look great. Now, what they're saying, the question, of course, is how do we know Jack K is behind this IG? We don't. And I'll admit this was the part I was most skeptical about, but there are different indications that he really was more than just a follower of the art account. The bio of Jack's personal IG literally only mentions a snowmobile. That snowmobile pops up on the DDLY account. He also commented on one of the DDLY posts in a way that seemed to indicate he knew about internal decisions of whoever was. So what we're seeing here on this side is Jack's personal IG account with the 2013 Arctic Cat M800 Limited. And then we've got the DLDLY showing what appears to be an Arctic Cat M800 Limited. And just so you know, I've done there's a few different styles of this, but I've found one just here. I'll overlay it over the top. And that is one that I found just by doing a Google search on that model. But so that's where they're trying to connect a potential for that. Which, to be fair, that in itself looks quite damning. Again, there is still chances that it's not, but hold on, that doesn't bode too well. If you would want to add to that, check this out. Jack K, in his Instagram bio, has the name of the show ski. That ski name is what appears on the other Insta page with masks and a knife with him riding it, which means it's on his own page. And someone's just put a little clip here, and they've put DDLY, face reveal and consistent posts, and JK Tov, possibly. So this is where we're seeing sort of interactions. We carry on. Jack also seems a bit generally depraved. And that's what we've got here. I've also read that apparently Jack follows, or at least followed, all 6 of the roommates on IG, and none of them followed him back. There's also stuff about Jack's sister and a Venmo for 3:30 a.m. We touched on that earlier being talked about, but I don't have much interpretation of that part. Ultimately, the most important premise that needs to be true for most of this to mean anything is that the IG account needs to be Jack's. If I was betting, I would say it seems clear that he is at least affiliated with the account, something beyond just being a follower. I heard someone say the account belongs to someone named Ryan, but I think most of us know that burner IGs are far too easy to make for that to be very confounding. So I'm not going to take that info with too much weight unless there's more on that. Think about what it would mean if Jack K was in fact behind the other account, though, which again seems very possible. We would have a person who was first to donate to Ethan's GoFundMe, yet who was also posted best weekend ever that same 2-day span. We'd have a person who seems to own a knife that matches the murder weapon, has documented fascination with murder, including being obsessed with a show about robots who have to constantly hide from being murdered, and had clear personal knowledge of all the victims. This same person, remember, definitely interacted with Ethan the night that he was murdered, and then was the first to donate to the GoFundMe, only to call it the best weekend ever. Am I crazy, or is this by far the most compelling Idaho suspect out there? So we have a quick look and see if he's still asleep. He's literally not moved, has he? So I talk about how much he fidgets, and he's not really fidgeted at all. Cheers for that. Made me look a right knob. And look, what I'm saying is, and again, what we're saying, we don't know whether the DDLY account has anything to do with anything. We don't know whether Jack K has anything to do with the account. There seems to be some information that would lead you to believe he is. And there are some statements that's been made that if he is, would raise an eyebrow, especially when we're throwing the likes of Jack D and Jack S and whoever knows else, them under the bus for seemingly the same thing. And this is what I'm getting to. And like I said right at the beginning of this video, are we reading too much into things? Is it just that all the things we're picking up on and finding that they are bizarre, are they just normality nowadays? Is it just that we're just getting old and we don't fully understand or appreciate the teens and young adults of today? And is this just nothing? Is this just rabbit hole after rabbit hole that we're going down because we're searching for the perpetrator? Who knows? But this information is out there, and it is compelling when you consider that these 4 young adults lost their lives. And we're seeing a snapshot into the lives of some of the people who interacted with them the night they lost their lives. Is there anything? Is there nothing? Law enforcement are obviously the people who we need to look at for answers, and hopefully they will come soon. But for now, that's me. That was Jack. Possibly something, possibly nothing. Speculation all round. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.